What's up, everyone? My name is Dak, and welcome back to another episode of Dak Chats. What's up, guys? I hope you're all doing well. Before we get started, I just want to say, if you do enjoy this video, why not leave a like? It really helps me out. I really do appreciate it. And if you really like it and you haven't already yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm having a lot of fun, way more fun doing this than I actually anticipated, to be honest. Like I've said before, I've wanted to do this for a long time, but actually doing it and jumping into it, building this community, growing, I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying this, and I want to continue to make this grow. So like I said, if you're enjoying this, we're going to be here all summer long, and we're not just going to be doing Big Brother stuff. As you can see in some of the stuff on the channel, like our banner, we also cover Survivor and a bunch of other stuff. So if you're enjoying it and you're having fun, make sure to subscribe, stick around, because this is not going anywhere. Well, guys, I got exactly one word to sum up tonight's episode, and that word is wow. Wow. I didn't see any of that coming, to be honest. Now, I'll give you just guys a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. When I filmed last night's episode, first off, for those of you that did end up watching last night's episode, I apologize. I could tell the quality. I knew the quality was a little bit off. I wanted to get it out there, so I uploaded anyway because I want to stay consistent. But I was exhausted, and currently, right now, I'm running off 4 hours of sleep. When I uploaded that, it was 2 a.m. or when I finally got to sleep, it was around 2 a.m. And when I finished filming, it was around 12:30ish. So by the time I finished editing and everything, it was pretty late. I guess I ended around 12, but by the time I finished editing, it was pretty late. And right about that time, after I was done and I started the editing process, is when I started to see what was going on. On the feeds or lack thereof. So I was just a little short of everything that was going on. I definitely wouldn't have included that. So it's been a wild 24 hours. Less than 24 hours still, for me anyway. But it's been a wild day, and we've been speculating all day long. And all last night, mostly today. But when I started seeing everything that was going on, I straight out said they're not going to cancel the eviction. We've never seen anything like that, and I initially thought, well, if they do that, like a lot of people were saying, it's unfair to Daniel, because you can't have him nominate 3 people and then there'll be no eviction, right? And I heard some other people talking about, which is true. And I did start to kind of think along these lines, but even I still never really came to the conclusion that they would do it. We already have the other 3 people that at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen. We had no idea, no concept of what was going to be going on, but we did know that based on what we were being told, that there was even the slightest chance that one of the 2 nominees weren't going to be going home. So even based on the little bit that we knew, it still seemed to reason that, okay, well, one of Daniel's nominees may end up staying, which is already unfair. I don't like that personally from a game perspective, but that was already how it was set up. So going into tonight's episode, knowing everything that was going on, if one of those 2 nominees hadn't gone, or if there was no eviction, it still wouldn't have been all that different from what we were assuming. And it turns out we were right. There was a lot of speculation. My theory was completely wrong. Absolutely wrong. But we were told how it was going to play out. Now, that's what they were telling us. I personally don't have any reason to believe that that's not what was going to happen, because nothing happened. So, there was no reason to fabricate something or say it was something different. But, they told us what was planned on happening, and that got scrapped. So the way that tonight's events unfolded is just kind of crazy to me. I know I'm not the only one. It doesn't take away from some of the stuff that's happened this past week. It does still kind of have a negative connotation to the season, unfortunately, but we can at least start moving into a more positive view, hopefully. It's kind of unfortunate that, the person that was instigating the majority of the negativity, or at least one of the primary people that was instigating, it wasn't all Paloma, but she was one of the primary people. That individual, we start to see kind of break down, and we see that, she's struggling. It's obvious, and we don't want to wish anything bad on anyone. I'm very familiar with poor mental health. It's something that's been around my life and a part of my life, so I can definitely relate to both from the person experiencing it and the people around the person experiencing it, because I've been on both sides of that. So I can definitely feel for Paloma. She did say one thing that, again, none of what happened this past week is excusable at all. But she did say one thing that, it's kind of in my notes. This episode's probably going to be a little bit all over the place, just because with an eviction type episode, there's so much to cover. We just go all over. But later in the episode, she says something like, what does she say? If I still have it in here. She said her anxiety is what's causing her chaos to create the game, or something like that. What does she say? She said she's using her anxiety to create the game. Sorry, that's what she said. That gives us a little bit more context. Again, none of her behavior is inexcusable, and I stand by everything I've said. Whether it's how she generated her opinion, I do think jealousy played a part of it, early on. It does make me wonder a tiny bit if part of that was causing her to feel like she had to create a villain to go after. Now, why that had to be Taylor and why, it had to go to the extent it did, again, inexcusable. It's unfortunate the way that things were handled, but I don't want to spend too much time. It's kind of hard to not spend too much time talking about the Paloma stuff, because the entire episode was about her. It's kind of like she was the HOH and the nominee and the person to be evicted all in one episode, because she definitely was contributing to the decision making to put Taylor up. Then we see Alyssa saying that she came to me and told me to vote her out, which is an option this week, but kind of a theoretical nominee. And then she's taken out of the game. Now, again, they said they implied, maybe they did specifically say, I can't quite remember, but it's assumed to believe that she removed herself. I know there's a lot of talk that the decision was out of her hands. We don't know. And to be quite frank, we're never going to know. Production has their side of the story. And when Paloma resurfaces wherever she is right now, and whenever that is, she's going to have her version, and it might match CBS version. And if it does, then I would be a little bit more keen to believe that, but it might not. And if she doesn't, then we're not really going to know. But the way everything formulated, it's all I'll say is I'm glad that she's out of that situation. And I hope that she's getting some help, whatever help that is that she's needing. I'm hoping that she's able to get that and get herself taken care of. And one thing I do just want to say, again, we're not excusing any of this behavior that's going on. Any of her negative actions, and the majority of them were negative. One thing I do want to at least put a footnote on is she is still very young. She's got a lot of life to live. And as bad as some of her actions were, as terrible as some of her actions were, as a fandom, we can rip people to shreds that haven't done nearly as to the extent that she has. And I don't think that she's irredeemable. I think she has a lot of life to live, and she can still apologize and work to correct those mistakes. And if she does, I think we should at least give her that opportunity to learn from this. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to her. She had a full mental breakdown on live TV following some very, very bullying and hateful behavior. So, all I'll say is, yes, we want to hold people accountable for their actions, and we do. And once, once we know that she's not entirely unstable, yeah, we definitely want to make sure that she's held accountable for her actions, and she is given the opportunity to understand what she did was wrong and why it was wrong and how she's able to move forward. But I don't feel like she's irredeemable personally. And so I want to make sure that, at least from this channel, we're kind and polite to all, even to people that may not deserve it. I want to stay positive on this channel. And that's what we're going to try and do. So, why don't we just get the rest of the Paloma stuff out of the way and move on from there? I think that might be the easiest way to go about tonight. So, all night Julie was teasing it, and someone is going to leave the game early. She didn't say that from the first clip, but pretty much after the first or second clip of Julie, everything else that she said was in reference to that. So we go through half the episode, and we'll go back and recover some of that stuff a little bit, because it is important. But we go through the rest of the episode, or halfway through, and we get to the part where they start talking about her. We start to see... Well, first we start to see her talking about how she's not sleeping at night. She's only getting a couple hours of sleep, and sleep deprivation really can do a number on you, on how you think and your mentality on things. It can be really rough, to go on and continue when you're in that position. One thing, as we've talked about already on this post show, is or not this one, but previous episodes, how she has been talking nonstop about living in a simulation. She truly believes that, and I know there are some out there that do believe that. To each their own, I guess. But it is a signal of something is awry, and we didn't. If we did see that on the episode, I missed it. I don't think it was mentioned at all. I think they kind of referenced it a little bit without coming right out and saying it. But that was, noted from tonight's episode. And then we see, she says she can just feel the exhaustion absorbing her. We see something, we already talked about how she said she feels like her anxiety is creating the game. She's kind of feels like a mad scientist. She didn't say that, but that's kind of how I would relate that to almost is, she's really struggling from the get-go, and it's creating this volatile environment. Again, something else has to have been there to initiate that direction of thinking, because, anxiety creating the game could go in a lot of different ways. It didn't have to go that way specifically, and it did. But we beat this horse. It's already dead. Not can't really keep going over that too much. I mean, we could talk till we're blue in the face, but only so much to say about that. Right, I did it again, and I didn't even catch it. Totally had my lighting off. I gotta stop forgetting that. I don't think the lighting was too bad in that first clip in general, but back here. Anyway, but back to where we were. So, we hear her talking about that, and then we start hearing some of the other house guests talk about how, we see Turner in the DR, and obviously he was already tearing up and he's already crying. You can tell this is already after they had announced that she was left. I do have in my notes Turner's first DR talking about how he's concerned for Paloma. I don't recall him having a DR session before. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this was the first time we heard from him. And also, even as someone that's been keeping up with the feeds, and it might just be something that I missed, which is entirely possible. I didn't notice Paloma and Turner being that close. That's not to say that he can't, feel affected by, her clear mental crisis that she was in, or at least, I won't say clear, appearance of. I mean, that's kind of what we're led to believe is what's going on. Again, none of us are doctors. We don't want to diagnose someone, especially through a screen, especially if we're not licensed, but that does appear to be what was going on. They could have really pulled anyone. He wasn't the only one that was talking about it, but, and then we hear several other people and other house guests talking about, their concern for her and, her mental health. And then we cut to basically Paloma goes to the DR and never comes out. We hear everyone talking about, have you seen Paloma? Where's Paloma? Oh, she's still in the DR. And then we have Daniel come out and, that was, listen, I know this week's been crazy. Say what you want about Daniel. That was a unique read. Having him break down and cry trying to read that. That did seem, to me anyway, seemed very genuine. I think he was really upset that all that was going on. And, and everyone kind of saw the writing on the wall. Everyone knew that was coming, or at least could feel something was coming. I think they were all hoping that she was going to be able to pull through. But it just didn't happen. And I think everyone I think no matter who it is, even if they all hated her, right? Even if this was Taylor and everyone hated them, which I don't think everyone hates Taylor, but I think you guys get the point. Watching someone that you've gotten to know over the course of the last week break down like that, that's tough. And you get to know this person and care about this person to a degree. And it's rough and it's hard to see that. And, it kind of culminated in this big emotional climax and then it was just done and then it was over. And, we kind of saw that how once that happened, the next time we see the house guest is when Julie's talking to him. So, it was an interesting night from that perspective. And that's, at this point, that's really all I can say about it. For me, I think with this channel, we're going to move on from here. And just, hope that Paloma is getting the help she needs just right now. Hopefully right now she's being treated and is able to, is having access to what she needs to recover. And then from there, when she is in a more stable state, being able to see and reflect on her actions and learn from them and grow. And we're going to wish Paloma nothing but the best here. And hope that, like I said, hope for a speedy recovery and following that, a very deep self-reflection and hopefully she's able to make some changes. And like we said, so we're going to move on from this whole situation. But we're going to back up a little bit because we kind of skipped through some of the other stuff. A lot of this we had already talked about. We start with Taylor, she's upset and she's talking about how, she didn't mean to make anyone uncomfortable. Not that she did anything to really make people uncomfortable. But not that anything she did really should have made anyone uncomfortable. I mean, again, anyone can feel uncomfortable by something, but there is, in my mind, you can only take that so far. And, you can't just blame someone really for being an innocent bystander, because that's all Taylor has been this week, really. It's an innocent bystander. Hopefully that changes this week based on the further events of tonight, but I regress. We'll touch back on that. So we go from there, and then we see Taylor talking to Monty about how, she tries to clear some stuff up. I did miss a portion of that conversation, but, we hear her talking about how, I feel like that might have been, she basically goes to Monty and tells him, hey, in a very nice way, I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding. I wasn't saying that Paloma was saying she's coming after you. I was trying to express to you that I had heard this, and I wanted you to have the opportunity to talk to her and clear it up, and make sure that your ally's not coming after you. And I think she handled that the best she could. And had the events of last night not occurred, it wouldn't have mattered. She still would have been voted to compete instead of evict, I guess, is what would have happened. And we would have, whatever happened after that would have happened. But as far as the vote goes, it really wouldn't have made a difference. But, I think Taylor handled herself really well. And this entire week since the veto meeting Monday, she's done nothing but handle herself with excellence and grace. And the exact opposite of how they just knew she was going to be and how she was going to react after being nominated. All the grace to Taylor, and I'm excited to see now that she stays. She's my obvious pick for HOH. Like I said, I didn't think we would be seeing this, and here we are. And I hope that she does continue and win the next HOH. But yeah, from there we see the formulation of what was the Mamba Alliance. I don't think they ever called it Mamba. It never was really given a name on the show because last I checked, it still didn't have one. And at this point, one of those people are gone. So, who knows how that's going to formulate after this. There's going to be a lot of interesting paths that we're going to see which one is followed, because Paloma was at the head of a lot of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how these alliances navigate through these waters and move on. And then we see, we already talked about last night, the Pooch and Brittany conversation. We got to see it play out in real time. Nothing really changed from what we said last night. Brittany was hoping that Pooch would have some type of power over the backstage, and he wouldn't have anyway. But in hopes that he would, she went to him trying to give him information that Amira was coming for her. And then we see that the one interesting part of that was getting to see Brittany's diary room, because when Amira eventually goes back to her and says, hey, Pooch came to me, and she didn't say that, but she was, Amira and Jasmine basically come and say, hey, who are you targeting for HOH? And she doesn't really have anyone. And Brittany can kind of see what's going on. She knows she was ratted out. and she denies it when confronted with it. But in the DR, she's like, crap, I got caught and now I'm screwed. And it sucks because she was kind of backed into a corner. She knew that even at that time, she was already kind of the next target. She could already kind of feel that. So she was trying to do what she could to save herself, especially in the event that she ended up being the first target based on how, the events of tonight could have gone. And she was trying to gain some form of safety, and it just didn't work out for her this time, unfortunately. But, we see that play out, and she gets really upset by it, understandably so. And we'll see what happens. I think she still could very easily be a target for this upcoming week, depending on who wins. Michael is going to be a very interesting nomination. Last I heard, his focus was Pooch and Turner. Who knows what's happened in the last almost 24 hours? A lot of conversations could have been had that could have changed the structure of the game that we really don't know. And it's kind of interesting because usually this is the part of the game where we first get the feeds. And the last couple of years, we've gotten feeds from the beginning. And it's fortunate because we actually got to see in real time what was going on, because this would have been spun completely different, most likely, had we not had feeds from day one. But now we're kind of back in that situation where we have a whole day, not only a whole day of feeds that were missing, but a whole day of feeds that were missing following a huge event that had actual, real, huge ramifications on the game. And we didn't get to see any of that. So it's going to be very interesting moving forward, how those dynamics play out and what ends up happening. Because tonight, when the feeds come back on, that's, Paramount Plus tweeted out, feeds will be back tonight, here in just another hour or two. It is going to be interesting to see what's changed, if anything. I mean, some stuff has changed. It has to have. But maybe the house guests may not even fully have figured out how it's changing yet. I'm sure they've had talks, but a large part of last night was probably built on sobbing and getting over everything that happened. So I don't imagine a lot went on last night just because of the weight of it, but some stuff could have. And I do imagine a lot was said and done today of everyone trying to figure out, okay, well, are we still voting someone out? How is backstage working? Who are we targeting? Are we still targeting Taylor? Probably were. They probably would have carried out Paloma's final wish on her behalf. But they didn't get the opportunity for that. So, when the feeds come back, it's going to be a crazy night, trying to catch up and see what all we've missed. But yeah, after that is when we kind of catch up to the Paloma stuff. So we get past that. We see how Julie explained everything to the house guests and basically said, look, this is how the twist was going to work. This is everything that happened. We did see that America's vote saved Brittany, which was nice to see. Even if the house hadn't saved her, America did. So I'm not a huge fan of America influence on the game, but if it's going to be there, I'm glad to see who it went to. And even if it did go to Alyssa at this point, it wouldn't have been the worst option. But I'm really happy to see that Brittany did get that. And that was real nice. But like I said, we do see Julie kind of revealing everything to them and giving them the breakdown and then basically saying, none of that matters now because one of those 5 potential people that were leaving is gone. So we're counting it and that's it. So again, the unfairness of the twist already screwed Daniel. So I'm not really, as much as I was initially, I'm not really in the boat anymore of it was unfair because it was unfair, but he was already going to get screwed anyway, most likely. So depending on who, it wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been Brittany, obviously. And Taylor did have a very good shot at beating either of the two other girls that it could have been. So she still might not have ended up going home. The one thing I will say for me personally, despite everything, I still think it would have been not entirely unfair to let Daniel compete this week. I don't know how the dynamics of that challenge would have worked. They didn't really. My guess is that based on everything that happened, they still wouldn't have let him compete. But even if they did want to, they shot themselves in the foot because of the type of HOH comp, which, they didn't have any way of knowing what was going to play out and how. So, that I do understand. But I was a little bit, I would have preferred him to have the opportunity personally. But, I understood why. But it ended up being a kind of a good thing because we still needed Daniel. Not only would it not have fit mathematically for him to compete, but we still needed someone to draw names. And if Julie had been pulling names, it almost certainly would have been accused of being staged somehow. The way some of the matchups formed was most of them ended up being pretty even. One in particular, not going to say which one. Let you guys decide that for yourself. But one in particular, was a lot more even than I expected it to be. So we move on to the HOH. I actually did kind of like this one. I don't think it was really built for live TV, as we did see. The show still cannot quite figure out live challenges. But, oh well. But we do see that it is a different type of face-off. And when I first saw it, and I was like, I don't know that we're going to fit this in. And they struggled. And I was like, surely we're not going to get a part 2. We're not going to see the winner. And obviously that's what happened. I'm curious to see if we're going to see anything tonight. Now, because the competition, the part 2, even if they do play it tonight, because the part 2 was not initiated on the Thursday night episode, I'd be willing to bet money that we won't see it on the feeds. But I'm hoping that the rest of it gets played out. Well, I guess it couldn't, because the set took up the whole backyard. The challenge did, so they don't really have enough room to finish that out, or to put another part. So they're going to have to tear it down and rebuild. My guess would be tomorrow, because they got a lot of week to cram in early. I guess they could even still wait a day, do it Saturday, determine the winner, and then have, even if they still could wait, they would obviously have, I would imagine, whether it's tomorrow or Saturday, right after everything's settled later that evening, they would have nominations. It's not unheard of for them to do that on a Thursday night episode. Have the eviction, have HOH competition played, and have nomination HOH winner determined, and then have nominations that same night. They have done that, especially when they have extra competitions, which, based on some of Julie's interviews today, it sounds like they might, so we might even see that later. So they are going to have to cream a lot. Like I said, I'm hoping that we do get that part 2 tomorrow. I don't expect tonight, but I am guessing that we'll get that tomorrow, and then we'll have the HOH winner determined. I did write down all the matchups, but I'm not going to go through each individual matchup. We did see Pooch and Michael. I guess we will real quick. Pooch and Michael and Michael won. Taylor and Alyssa won, which I know BB fans as a whole were screaming and cheering, the majority of us, especially BB Twitter was cheering and screaming for that when we saw that. And then following that, we saw Joseph won his matchup against Indy. Amira won against Brittany. Initially, it looked like Brittany might have a chance. She was more impressive than honestly than I was expecting. She did have a good recovery there, but ended up, falling in the end. And then we saw Jasmine and Terrence. Now, one of them earlier, I think it might have been Taylor. When I first saw Taylor, I was like, yeah, it was Taylor. I could have sworn her foot touched the ground. Now, even if it had, and she was disqualified, I don't think they would have called her out on it. Here's my guess, and this could be proven wrong going back and looking at the footage. From my perspective, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Like I said, I could be very wrong, but I'm pretty sure Taylor's foot touched the ground. Now, I also saw the same with Jasmine, personally. What I think, and again, if I'm wrong, I very well could be proven that. Maybe one of them, maybe both of them didn't touch, and they actually, their win was justified. But I think if it did, for both of them, I think that for Taylor, they were basically like, we're not going to call it out. Just let it be. We'll get too much backlash, too much hate if we try and call her out on that. Or not call her out, but say that she missed it, and then they'd have to redo it. I also think airtime played a huge factor for both girls. And then I think that with Jasmine, because after Jasmine fell, after she won, or after she hit the buzzer and then tripped on her way down, we started to hear Julie say, wait, hold on. And then basically said, yeah, you guys help her up. To me, it sounded like Julie was saying, wait, she might not be the winner of that match. But I think that they were already like, look, we're running out of airtime, and we already gave Taylor a free pass, potentially. So just let it be. She paid for it. Whether it's fair or not, she paid the price for that. So, just let it be. And I think that's how it ended up. And then, like I said, we see Jasmine get hurt. She was still in quite a bit of pain, even after we came back from the tape, or the commercial break, and she had gotten moved over. I could guarantee you, if she isn't currently, she already has been checked by medical. Hopefully it's a sprain and we don't have to lose another person to a non-eviction. But if it's not and it's going to require surgery, I hope to God that we don't have to have another Christmas incident where, this season is already mirroring 19 so much. The last thing we need is someone to get hurt, break their foot, again, have surgery, and cast a vote from their hospital bed. I could easily see them doing it, just because if they don't, they'd have a lot of, they already let Christmas do it. If that does happen, I'm really hoping that they realized how absolutely ridiculous that was that they did that, and just let it be, and let her get taken care of outside of the game and have her removed as well. I hope that doesn't have to happen, because I hope that she's not hurt that bad. And she just has to kind of sit out of a couple comps, or a couple physical comps, for the next couple weeks, but we'll see how that unfolds. We'll see how that ends up by the time feeds come back. Here they are promising feeds, and we might get another delay because something happened to her. So Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. The last thing we need is a whole nother day of feeds being blacked out, or even, until tomorrow. I think it's going to be really important to get those feeds tonight and start gaining more context as to what everyone's thinking and how everything's going to unfold. But yeah, we see Jasmine was declared the winner of that match, and then Kyle won against Turner, and Monty won against Nicole. It kind of looked like Monty and Nicole were fighting to see who could lose to the other one instead of beat the other one. And Monty lost the throwing competition, the throwing competition that they were in. But who knows? We'll get hopefully we get a little bit more insight from DRs on Sunday as to what happened there. But yeah, those are our 7 HOH contenders: Michael, Taylor, Joseph, Amira, Jasmine. Michael, Taylor, Joseph, Amira, Jasmine, Kyle, and Monty. So those are our 7 that we're going to be going into. Those are the 7 that are currently qualified to compete, or eligible to become the next HOH. And there's a lot that can happen, over the course of the next few days. And, there's a couple different routes that this week could go. I think the most likely one is that we see Brittany nominated and probably end up voted out. But if Michael wins, I don't expect that to be what happens. I do expect it to be Turner and Pooch that go up if Michael wins. But like I said, who knows what has gone on over the last 24 hours that could change that. So we'll see how that unfolds. But yeah, guys, I think that'll do it for tonight. It's Thursday episode, so not much to update from the feeds. All I can say is I hope that Taylor wins HOH. If not her, then Michael. Same thing that I said last night, except for now Taylor actually has a really good shot at winning, equal to Michael, as opposed to last night it was appearing as she had a very, very minuscule chance compared to Michael. But we'll see how the rest of the week unfolds. I am going to attempt to try and cover as much as I can, or watch as much as I can on the feeds tonight or later this evening and all day tomorrow. So I'm hoping to put out an update, live feed update video tomorrow, and Saturday, and if not one of those days, hopefully the other. And worst comes to worst, I'll see you guys Sunday. But I do plan on trying to put at least a short video out, both tomorrow and Saturday. So we'll see if we can get that out. But yeah, guys, again, if you like this episode, please consider hitting that like button. And if you really loved it, and you're enjoying this content, subscribe. It would truly mean the world to me, to continue seeing this channel grow and see how far we can take this community and how big we can grow it. I'm really enjoying the discussions we're having in the comment section, and I look forward to hearing your guys' opinions on tonight's episode, and a recap this week as a whole, and what are you guys looking forward to in the next couple days? Who are you guys wanting to win this HOH, and who do you want to see nominated? Because right now, I genuinely don't know who I'm wanting to be nominated. I know that I'm hoping for Taylor, and if not Taylor, then Michael to win. And there's only a couple people that I would be truly disappointed in them winning. But I like I said, I'm pulling for Taylor and then Michael, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, guys, that'll do it for tonight. Hope you guys had fun with tonight's episode. I know, obviously, I sure did. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a great night.